Hey, what's up everyone? It's Rivets from Love Lola. Welcome to my channel. Today I am so excited about the bag that we're going to be making. It is the Mini Alice by Oro Rosa. And I love this bag. I am so pumped about this bag. As soon as I saw the picture of her releasing it, I was like, I need to make this bag. It's going to be mine. This is going to be my bag. So, and I had bought some vinyl about 2 or 3 months ago for me. I didn't know what pattern I wanted to use it for, but you know how that is. Like certain bags, I buy vinyl and I wait for that pattern to come that I'm like, that goes with that vinyl. But I know I want that vinyl, but I have to wait for the perfect pattern. This was the bag that I have been waiting to use my, what was the name of that vinyl? This is, my Blood Orange Ultra Fabrics fabric. And I am so pumped. Okay, so here she is. Here's my baby. Hey boo boo, how are you? Good? I was taking too long? I was talking too much? I was just trying to give you a proper introduction. Don't be like that, girl. Okay, we good. We're good. This is my Mini Alice and y'all, look at this bag. So she is a smaller size bag, but the way that she's shaped gives her some room. You see that? Small and mighty. What a fun, unique shape for a bag, right? I don't think I've ever seen a bag made like this. And you know what's really cool about this bag? Look at the top. Look at how she did that. That's so crazy. She put a turn lock on top that opens like that. How cool is that? And then you're able to get to the zipper. So inside, it doesn't come with anything as far as pockets or whatever. So you can do whatever you like. I added a slip pocket on one side, and then I made this little credit card slot on the other. But yeah, you can just do whatever floats your boat. It does come with a crossbody strap if you want to add it. You don't have to, actually. That's one of the things that's so cool about this bag. She made it where you basically can just do what you want. If you want this to just be you know, have this top handle, then you can do that. You can also add, like I did, a D-ring connector for a crossbody, or you can do, she gives directions on if you want to do like a some hardware like a bridge or something like that to add your strap. You have a couple of options, so I really love that about it. And I just love this bag. My birthday is this week, and I decided that this is going to be my birthday bag. I love it. Look at this. Is my head in the video? I didn't wear my contacts today. All right, so yeah, so this is the Mini Alice by Oro Rosa, and I love it. Are you guys ready to make it? Let's go. Okay, so let's get started. For my Mini Alice today, I am going to be doing option, I believe it's option B. So I'm going to be adding rivets to do tufting. You can do it with no treatment on the exterior. You can do it with quilting. That's really cool about this pattern. You can kind of make it how you want it to be. So I'm going to be doing the rivets today. Right now we should have everything cut out, which isn't a lot. I love that about this bag. So we should have our 2 exterior pieces cut out. We should have our 2 lining pieces cut out, our 2 zipper pieces, the exterior and also the lining. We should have a bottom piece cut out, and then your interfacing and stabilizing. So for my stabilizing, since I'm doing the rivets, I did get the foam, and this is FF77 Flex Foam. I went ahead and fused that to my exterior fabric. I just used this spray adhesive. Yeah, nothing special. Whatever you have, get that on. And you're just gonna center. She gave you a, you have a pattern piece for your stabilizer. So just use that and get it centered on your lining piece. And then afterwards, we're going to cover it with some woven interfacing. I'm just going to be using the SF101 today. And that's just going to help hold everything in place. Okay, so you want to fuse, go ahead and fuse your bottom stabilizer on to your bottom piece. And then you're going to draw little squares on each corner, and they're going to be 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch up and 3/8 of an inch to the side. We're going to do that to all 4 corners, but we're not going to cut anything yet. Just leave the marks there. Then if you want to add feet, and I didn't stabilize this just because this is leather and it's really thick, so I think it's going to be okay. If you want to add purse feet, what you're going to do is you're going to measure up 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches up and 1 3/4 inch from the side. Okay? 1.5 up, 1 3/4 in. And you're going to do that at each corner. Now this bag does not come with any zippers or pockets on the inside, but you are more than welcome to do as you wish. For my lock connectors, I did not cut stabilizer yet because I don't think I'm going to need it, but we're going to see. So I'm not going to be doing mine the way that she did it in the instructions, only because I'm going to leave my edges exposed. So I cut this out the size that she said, but I know it's going to have to be modified a little bit. I'm going to do that later. I don't feel like it right now. So later I'll do the exact measurements and I'll come back and put it here when I edit the video. But if you are not doing exposed edges, just follow the instructions that she gives you on how to stabilize these pieces, and then you would put double-sided tape and bend it over and then all of that. All right, so that's that. I feel like I have some cards. Pick a number, any number. Yeah. You know they always do that at the casino. I used to bartend at a casino, so yeah. Good stuff. Okay, let's get our marking on our main pieces. Oh, go ahead and mark the center pieces of your main panels. Before we get started, go ahead and get those center pieces marked. Okay. So we're going to turn it over to the back. Grab our main panel piece. We're going to grab our panel piece. I went ahead and poked holes. Get it lined up nice and even. Don't forget about the 2 that are right there on the line, okay? Okay, so now we are going to see about adding a label. Where do I want my label to be? It's a pretty small bag, so take that into consideration. So I am going to go down to the row where our second row of tufting is. So the second row of rivets. Okay. Now, because these are so close to those holes, of course, I am not going to be putting anything right there. We're going to just skip that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get all of our holes punched and also get our rivets installed. Oh my goodness, how pretty is this? Oh, I love it. I love it already. Okay, so now we're going to be getting, where there's different options, I'm going to be doing the option with the D-ring connectors. So I'm going to get those out. Now, if you are using vinyl, then follow the instructions on the sizes for you to cut your pieces. Since I'm using leather, I just cut mine 1/2 inch by 9 inches because I don't need to fold it over or anything. I am going to cut a piece of double-sided tape. I'm going to be cutting this 1.5 inches long. And I'm going to apply it on the end of the D-rings. And then we're just going to run our D-ring through it. Take the tape off, fold it over. Repeat it to the other side. Now we're going to run a piece of double-sided tape along the whole thing. Come on, come here. Come to mama. Okay, and now we are going to measure 3/4 of an inch in from the left side. One, two, three. There we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, there we go. A little bitty piece of my underside is showing, so I'm going to trim that really quick. Okay, so what we're actually going to do to help distribute the weight of the bag is we're going to be adding one of the D-ring connectors to the front panel and one to the back panel. So if you don't want to get confused like me, and when you're doing this, you should be placing the D-ring, if you're going to lay them both right sides up, the D-ring should be on the same side looking at it. And that will ensure that it's the right way as well. Okay, line that up. All right, and just to be double sure, put them wrong sides touching, and a connector should be on each side. Bam. All right, we're good to go. I just want to say really quick, if you are going to be making the D-ring the way that she did it, make sure that you pay attention to the instructions, because the first time that you sew it, you're not going to sew it along the edge at 1/8 of an inch. You're going to sew it at 3/8 of an inch, if I'm not mistaken. And then once you lay it on this panel, you're going to be attaching it at 1/8 of an inch. So pay attention to that. Now I'm going to go and get this sewn on at 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to start at the bottom, I'm going to sew up, I'm going to pivot underneath my D-ring, and then come back down. And I'm going to leave enough room when I do that pivot to be able to install a rivet there for extra security. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and get that rivet in. Okay, now we are going to grab our zipper pieces, the exterior and the lining, and go ahead and grab your zipper panel as well. Okay, we are going to get started with our zippers. So I've taken my zipper lining pieces and placed them right side facing up. And then I took apart my zipper and I placed it right side facing up as well with the edges lined up. And now we're gonna go and top stitch the zipper onto the lining at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Again, our zipper panel is right side facing up, and our zipper tape is also right side facing up. I don't know if I mentioned it, but when we placed this zipper on the lining, we should have matched them up at the midpoint, okay? Now we're going to take our zipper panel exterior pieces and we're gonna lay it right on top, once again, matching up those midpoints. And we're gonna pin these and get these sewn together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Place this, okay, so our back panel should be right side facing up, and then our zipper panel should be right side facing down. Match up those mid pieces. Oh, I think I taped mine. Okay, and let's go ahead and, well, first off, I am going to go ahead and move my lining out of the way like she recommended. Now we're gonna go and sew this together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now we're gonna go and trim that down to 1/4 of an inch seam allowance with our pinking shears, or if you don't have pinking shears like me, just cut it. Okay, now we're gonna go and top stitch again. Just take your time, and everything is gonna be all right. And when we sew this, remember that seam allowance, we should be catching that in our top stitch. We just don't want to catch the lining. Okay, so now we're gonna get our lining attached. We have put the tape on. Okay, so now we're going to place our linings right side touching each other, matching up the middle. That's not right side facing each other. That's right side facing each other. Duh. Okay. Okay, I've got it pinned. I did go and put a few snips in the curve because this waterproof canvas is pretty stiff. It was kind of giving me the blues. But anyway, now I'm going to head over to my machine. I'm going to get this sewn together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, once we've got that connected, we're going to trim our seam allowance down to 1/8 of an inch. That was fun. I just put my new foot on, and it's a skinny foot, and it just made it so much easier to sew that. I'm so excited about my new feet. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I never knew there were all these goodies to make sewing easier. I'm so pumped. Okay, so we've got that attached. So that's what it's gonna look like from the inside. Okay, and now we're gonna repeat the same thing to the other side. So let's grab our back panel. So cute. Let's grab one of our main panels. I'm gonna grab one of my main panels. I got the front, and then I'm gonna grab my bottom piece. And I'm going to lay my main panel right side facing up with my bottom piece right side facing down. I'm going to match up the midpoints. All right, and we're gonna sew this at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. But remember those squares that we made earlier today? We're going to stop when we get to that mark, okay? We're not gonna go all the way to the end. Stop when we get to that mark of that square we made earlier. Okay, now we're going to trim only the bottom piece. So we're gonna trim the seam allowance only of the bottom panel to 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so now we're going to fold this corner out of the way, and right where our stitching ends, we're gonna make a little snip perpendicular to that, right up to that stitch, but make sure you don't cut the stitch. Okay. Same thing on the other side. Right up to the stitch, but don't cut the stitch. Okay. Okay, now let's just fold that over like that. And you want your seam allowance to be going towards the bottom piece. Okay? That's going to be hard for me because I'm using leather. And of course it naturally wants to go the other way. But I'm gonna make it work. Let's go ahead and where we clipped, see where we did that clip? We're going to fold that main panel material up and under, right where that clip was, and we're gonna pin it for now just to get it out of the way. Same thing, right to where we clipped, fold it under. Okay, now we're going to go and top stitch along our bottom piece. Do not back stitch at the start and end. Leave your threads long, and we're going to pull them to the back. And we're going to be top stitching on the bottom piece at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Also, a quick reminder, when we do that top stitch, we are supposed to be starting and ending at that mark that we made earlier. Remember that box on the back? I forgot to do that on one of my sides, so I'm just going to take out a couple of stitches. And there we go, all is well. Now we're going to knot that up really quick. Just give a little tug on the thread and it will pull the front piece towards you. Okay, and now we can tie it, knot it, burn it, put freight check, whatever you want to do to feel good about that being secure. Okay, now we're going to repeat the same thing for the other side. Grab our other panel. Let's lay it right side facing up. Match up our midpoints. Get it clamped together. Okay, and we're going to get it sewn together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once again, we're stopping at that square that we made earlier. Repeat the same process as before. Trim your bottom piece down to 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then turn it over and top stitch, pushing the seam allowance towards the bottom, making sure that you do not back stitch on that part, on the beginning and the end. Okay, I'm gonna go get my top stitch added. Okay, now we're going to take our exterior pieces and place them right sides together. And once we get them clamped, we are going to head over to the machine and sew it at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance along the sides. Okay, so now we are going to get our bottoms closed. Well, if you didn't do your D-ring connector the way I did, now would be the time that you would do like your bridge connector or whatever hardware that you have to connect it. But we did the D-ring, so we're good. So we're basically just going to take our corners, and it's going to naturally want to bend. I'm going to push my seam allowance from my main panel up. We're going to clamp this, and then we're going to go and sew it together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. We're almost done, y'all. I'm getting so excited. All right, as you can see, I've pinned both sides. Now I'm going to go and get those sewn at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now we're going to trim this down to 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm getting so excited. We're getting so close. Okay, so now we're going to clip the sides of our main panel together. And once we get them clipped together, we're going to go and sew them together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, I'm going to go sew both of these at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, let's trim the lining seam allowance down to about 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Now we're going to lay it flat. And what we want to do is go and top stitch at 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so now we're going to lay it flat. And we're going to be sewing the bottom pieces of our linings together. And we're only going to be sewing about 1 inch. So if you need to mark it at about 1 inch, we're going to be sewing that closed at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So from the corner in for 1 inch, and from that corner in for 1 inch. Back stitching at the beginning and the end. Okay, let's trim just that little bit of the seam allowance. Okay, now we're just going to box our corners. There we go. Match up the seams from each side. It's kind of hard to see it in the dark, but I'm matching up the seam from one side to the seam of the other side. We're going to clamp it, and then we're going to head over and sew these closed at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, let's trim this down to 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and turn the bag in through our opening. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we want to close that hole up that we just did. When you grab it and pull, it's going to kind of naturally want to bend in. What you can do is add a little stitch right there, or she recommends putting a little fabric glue right there to hold it together, just so that you can have a more seamless close, so that you don't see that seam. I think that's a really great idea, actually. I've never even considered doing that, so I will do that. All right, I'm going to grab a little bit of my beacon 3-in-1. All right, I'm going to put a few clamps there to hold it in place until it's completely dry. All right, let's continue. Just smooth that out of the way for now. How freaking adorable is this bag? Oh my God, I love it. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to fold our zippers in. And I'm using this midpoint of my lining as my guide for where I am bringing my 2 zippers in. Does that make sense? This midpoint, I'm going to be bringing this zipper side in to that and the other side in, okay? Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get my zippers installed. My zipper pulls. What I like to do is cut my right side of my zipper tape so that it's one shorter than the left side, one or two shorter. Then I place it where the slimmer part is facing the zipper. And I slide that on the left piece. And then I just guide the other side on. And then I hold them and pull. Just like that. It's really simple. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. I am going to just clip off one tooth, I guess you would call it. Point it where the slim side is facing in. I cut off the tooth on the right side. So I'm going to place the left side in first. And then I'm going to guide the right side in. And then I'm going to just grip. Oh. And then I just grip with these two fingers to kind of hold the zipper in place as I pull down. There we go. Okay. We are here. How cute! Oh my gosh. This is so freaking cute. Ah! I can scream! I did scream! I love you. We go together. Beautiful. Okay. And you don't have to do this, but I'm gonna do it just because I feel like I want to. I'm gonna go really quick and stitch across here at about 1/4 of an inch. I don't want to do it. Okay, for my lock connectors, I did them a little bit different. I am using leather, so I did not want to fold it over and all of that because it's super stiff. What I decided to do was I used my lock connector stabilizer piece as my pattern to cut my strap connectors, okay? If you are doing it the normal way, as in the instructions, go ahead and follow that. She explains it very well. You'll be okay. If you're deciding to do exposed edges like me, then, you know, rock with me. Like I said, I use my lock connector stabilizer. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get my lock pieces installed. I'm going to go ahead and install my, it doesn't matter which one you do first because they both have to be done. So just find two pieces that match up. They should all match up, but, you know, I'm going to use those two together. And I'm going to find the center. You can just eyeball it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I like to keep my stuff pretty even, so let's see. Okay, so once I have one of my, the hole cut out for one of my sides of my lock, I'm going to lay it over the piece that I'm going to be connecting it to. and trace it so that I can have them be in the same spots. Now I'm going to grab my other piece. And find the center. So the one that's going to be having my male in, I am placing a little bit of this, I think it's Alina's Jewelry and Metal Glue. If you use this stuff, y'all, it's intense. So be very specific and ready, because once it goes on what it goes on, that's it. So I use it very sparingly. I'm going to put a little bit right around where the part of the connector goes up. I'm going to place it a little bit right around the corners of that. Again, a little goes a long way. Be careful. Oh, it's trying to get me. This stuff is intense. Okay, once I have that on, I'm going to insert it in there. Should have done this before I added the glue. I'm kind of doing this backwards because as I was doing it, I was like, oh, I should have done this. Oop, I should have done that. So you learn from my mistakes. God, please don't get me. So before I applied the cement glue, I should have gone ahead and attached that metal to the leather. Because I just don't want any shifting when I go to get this all attached, you know? I want everything to be where it needs to be. I don't want no problems. So that's what we're doing. We're doing a little prep work. And I'm coming up with it as I go. So I'll be able to edit this and make sure that I give you the best instructions if you decide to do it this way. Whenever you use cement glue, you have to let it sit. You have to apply it to both sides, and you have to let it sit for about 15 minutes. Okay, so the connector that has the male in, you should have measured up about 1 inch. We're going to take one of our sides. I don't think it matters, honestly. Yeah, I don't think it matters. And so the piece that has the male end, you want the underside of that to be touching the outer side of the bag. So this underside, the wrong side of this, is going to be touching the outer side of this bag, not the side with the zipper. Okay, very important. You know what I should have done? I should have put a little bit of my cement glue on that. Do that really quick. About 1 inch. You know, if I can eliminate shifting as much as I can, why wouldn't I do that? Okay, let's get back to it. Now I'm going to take one side and I am going to line up the bottom part of my male piece. So that this part is touching the outer part of my bag, the part without the zipper. And I'm going to place it at that line and center it as best as I can. Okay. That looks pretty good. Oh, I'm so pumped. Okay, and now I'm going to grab the other end. We're going to grab the piece that does not have a hole in it. That's the side that's going to go over the piece with the male end of our turn lock. And I'm just going to match that up as perfectly as I can. There we go. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. I'm going to put a few pins, a few clamps, I mean, just to hold it in place. I mean, that cement stuff is pretty intense. I don't think I'm going to have a problem, but it can't hurt. All right, I'm going to grab the top side of the female part of the turn lock. And I want to be attaching this to the outer side of the other end of the strap. I'm going to flip that over so it's wrong side up. Oh, I think I should have marked the inch on this one too. And I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to place this centered as best I can at that 1 inch mark. Ooh, this stuff is no joke. Did you see how quickly it tried to adhere to that? There we go. Okay, now I'm going to take the other piece and I'm going to lay it right on top of that. Actually, I'm going to lay this first because I'm more concerned about this matching up than the metal. There we go. I want to make sure that these pieces are perfect. There we go. I actually think that I could trim that down a little. Ugh, you see that sticky stuff? It's not a game. My zipper is a little bit in the way of the hole, so I just want to trim that down a little bit. Make sure I don't have any problems. All right. You see that glue? It's so sticky. Okay, let's try that again. matching up the sides. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to go and apply a little bit more of that, metal glue. And this time I'm going to apply a little bit in the hole just to help make sure that it's not going anywhere. Oh no, I needed to cut that lower. Please come off. Oh gosh. Okay, so for me, my zipper is a little bit too close to the hardware that needs to, it's too bulky right here for me to get my screw in. So I am going to trim that area down just a little bit as best I can. It's sticking to my hand. It's okay. We got it. Oh God. Stop. Okay. I'm not concerned about cutting this back because one, the sticky stuff is not going to let anything happen. And two, we are also going to be sewing around this, so it's going to be connected just fine. I'm not afraid of that at all. Okay, let's try this one more time. Third time's a charm, right? Okay, yep, that'll work. That'll work. It was just a little too thick for the hardware to be able to close the other way. But this is good. Okay, now my hands are okay. There we go. Okay, and now just go ahead and get it installed according to the instructions from your hardware supplier. All right, I'm gonna let this marinate while we get the strap made. Okay, let's get our strap made. I want my strap to be 3/4 of an inch wide, so I cut it 3 inches wide by, I think this is 54 inches. I drew a line down the center. Now we're just going to fold this in. We don't want to fold it all the way to the line. We want to leave a little bit of a space just to help it not, you know, pucker when we fold it again. So we're folding both pieces in almost to the line that we drew, and then we are folding it over. If you would like, you could use double-sided tape along the sides of this line, you know, and tape it and then go back, but I just do it this way because it's faster and easier and not wasting my tape. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this done. I like to skip over a little bit between the first few times that I clip it. It just helps the strap not to start to shift, you know. All right, and now I'm gonna go and do it all the way through, and then we're gonna head over to the machine and top stitch it at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance along both of the long ends. Okay, so this is my first time using my foot with the edge, so I'm pretty excited about it. I can't even lie, it's like I got a new toy. All right, let's see what happens. This is my foot that is at 1/8 inch. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, how cool is that? It keeps it right there. Oh my goodness. It keeps it right there across the end. I think that my tension is a little tight because my strap is curving a little bit. I need to adjust that. Love it! That's my review. Love it! That's great. What a game changer. I am so pumped. All right, let's get our hardware attached. If you're going to be using a strap adjuster, go ahead and grab it. You want it right side facing up. Grab your strap, right side facing up, slide it up and back over. And then you can either rivet or top stitch or both. I'm going to go and add a top stitch and a rivet layer. Okay, take your strap and you want it to be wrong side facing up and just slide it down to the other end. Place your swivel hook through it and then just slide it back. Make sure that your strap is not twisted as you slide it back. Once you get to that adjuster, you're going to come from one end up and back down. Again, making sure that you don't let your strap twist. Check again. It's not twisted. Okay. Take the other end, place it through and under, and again, you can either stitch it or rivet or both. Okay, y'all, we are almost done. We're almost done. Okay, so last thing, we are going to go and sew around our connectors, and we're going to do this at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. If you don't want to have back stitching going on, just leave your strings long at the beginning and the end, and then when you finish, you can tie them in a knot and just tuck them in between those two pieces. Now, pay attention to the instructions. The way that she did it, she sewed around the fabric before she added it to the bag. And then when she added it to the bag, she just used the glue. I am doing it this way because I just prefer to do it with the leather. I want to get it sewn on afterwards. So do whatever feels best to you. This is the way that I am doing it, okay? All right, y'all, that's it. We're done. Ah! I freaking love this bag. How adorable. How do they come up with these ideas and these designs is beyond me. Oh my gosh, Alexis, this is adorable. I love it. Oh my gosh. All right, that's it. We're done. There's your Mini Alice. Do you love it? Because I love mine. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, if you found it helpful, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to check out my new group, Baggie Baddies. You can find it at www.lovelolaLooks.com. I will put a link down below in the description box. It's just a lot of great tips, a lot of cool bag makers, and also I made a database with a list of vendors where you can buy your zippers, hardware, leather, vinyl, everything that you need is in one place. And if you want to put your name on the list, just go over to that website and join it and I can get you on. All right, thank y'all so much for watching and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.